The music was soft, the lights were warm. And for a few fleeting moments, I almost forgot my heart was breaking. I stood in the center of the ballroom surrounded by coworkers, clients, and executives celebrating another successful year. Laughter echoed through the room. Glasses clinked. People smiled for photos. And there I was, dancing with the last person I expected to matter to me. My boss. When the song began, it felt harmless. Just a dance. Just two people sharing a quiet moment in a crowded room. But as the final notes played, I stepped back and whispered the words I had rehearsed for weeks. "This is my last night." His smile vanished. I turned to walk away. Then suddenly, his hand tightened around mine. His voice cracked. "Please," he said. "Don't walk away." The desperation in his eyes stunned me. Because this wasn't the confident CEO everyone knew. This wasn't the man who negotiated million-dollar deals without breaking a sweat. This was someone terrified of losing something he couldn't replace. And at that moment, I realized neither of us was talking about a job anymore. 3 years earlier, I had started working at Harper Industries with little hope and even less confidence. At 29, I felt like life had left me behind. My father had passed away unexpectedly. Medical bills had drained my savings. The engagement I thought would lead to marriage ended with a short text message and a broken heart. Everything seemed to be falling apart. The position at Harper Industries wasn't glamorous. I was hired as an administrative coordinator, organizing schedules and handling countless small tasks no one noticed. But I needed the paycheck. What I didn't expect was Michael Harper. Most people saw him as intimidating. Tall. Sharp. Always focused. The kind of leader who seemed born knowing exactly what to do. But I quickly discovered another side. He remembered employees' birthdays. He visited workers recovering in hospitals. He quietly paid for a janitor's daughter's college tuition when financial aid fell through. And he never told anyone. I only learned because I handled some of the paperwork. The more I watched him, the more I realized genuine kindness rarely announces itself. It simply shows up when people need it most. Over time, we developed a friendship. Nothing inappropriate. Nothing dramatic. Just mutual respect. When my car broke down during a snowstorm, he stayed after work until help arrived. When his mother became ill, I helped coordinate schedules so he could spend more time with her. We became part of each other's daily lives. And somehow, without meaning to, he became the person I trusted most. Then everything changed. One Tuesday morning, I arrived at work to find Michael staring out his office window. Something was wrong. Very wrong. His shoulders looked heavier than I'd ever seen. His eyes carried exhaustion that no amount of sleep could fix. Later that afternoon, he called me into his office. "I received some news," he said quietly. He hesitated. Then he told me. The company was in serious trouble. A major investor had withdrawn support. Several contracts had collapsed. Hundreds of jobs were suddenly at risk. For months, Michael fought to save the business. He worked impossible hours. Skipped vacations. Mortgaged personal assets. Did everything he could to protect employees. Many executives recommended immediate layoffs. Michael refused. "They're not numbers," he told the board. "They're families." I watched him carry burdens no one should carry alone. And slowly, the pressure began to break him. One evening, long after everyone else had left, I found him sitting alone in the conference room. His head rested in his hands. For the first time since I'd known him, he looked defeated. I sat across from him. Neither of us spoke for a while. Finally, I said, "You don't have to carry everything by yourself." His eyes filled with tears. Not dramatic tears. Not loud tears. Just quiet exhaustion. The kind that comes from fighting too long. That night changed our friendship forever. Not because romance suddenly appeared, but because vulnerability did. We stopped pretending to be invincible. We became honest. About fears. about failures, about loneliness, about the things people rarely admit. Months later, despite every effort, the company survived only by making painful cuts. Many positions were eliminated, including mine. Michael personally delivered the news. His voice shook as he spoke. "I'm so sorry." Oddly enough, I wasn't angry. I knew how hard he had fought. I knew he had exhausted every option. What hurt wasn't losing the job. It was leaving behind people who had become family. Especially him. A few weeks later, another company offered me a position across the country. Better pay. Better benefits. A fresh start. Everyone told me to take it. So I did. The annual leadership conference happened to fall on my final day. I planned to attend, say goodbye, and leave quietly. No drama. No tears. Just gratitude. Then the dance happened. One slow song. One unexpected moment. And suddenly all the emotions we'd spent years burying surfaced at once. When I told him I was leaving, his reaction caught me completely off guard. "Please don't walk away." The words hung between us. Raw. Unfiltered. Honest. I stared at him. "Michael." He swallowed hard. "Do you know what you've done for this company?" I shook my head. He laughed sadly. "That's the problem. You never do." People around us continued dancing, unaware that my world had stopped spinning. "You think you were just an employee," he said. "But every time someone was struggling, you showed up. Every time morale collapsed, you lifted people up. Every time I thought I couldn't keep going, somehow you reminded me why I should." Tears blurred my vision. "I was just doing my job." "No," he said firmly. "You were changing lives." I looked away. Because hearing those words felt impossible. Like he was describing someone else. Then he took a deep breath. "I've spent years helping people understand their value." His voice trembled. "And somehow I never convinced you of yours." The tears came then. For both of us. Not because of romance. Not because of grand declarations. But because every human being longs to know they mattered. To know their presence made a difference. To know they weren't invisible. And in that moment, Michael gave me that gift. A gift more valuable than any salary. Any title. Any promotion. The gift of being seen. A week later, I moved across the country. It wasn't easy. There were tears. Doubts. Second guesses. But I carried something with me I'd never had before. Confidence. Purpose. The belief that kindness matters. Months turned into years. My new career flourished. I eventually became director of community outreach for a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping struggling families. Every day, I tried to lead the way Michael had taught me. With compassion. With humility. With humanity. Then one spring afternoon, I received an invitation. Harper Industries was celebrating its 50th anniversary. Against all odds, the company had recovered. Not only recovered. Thrived. The invitation included a handwritten note. "You helped build this success. We hope you'll come home." When I arrived at the celebration, hundreds of employees filled the venue. Many recognized me. Many hugged me. Several shared stories I'd never heard before. Stories about small acts of kindness I barely remembered. Helping someone through a divorce. Organizing support for an employee battling cancer. Mentoring a nervous new hire. Tiny moments. Tiny choices. Yet years later, people still remembered them. That evening, Michael took the stage. After thanking investors, leaders, and partners, he paused. Then he searched the audience until his eyes found mine. "There is one person I need to recognize," he said. The room fell silent. He smiled. "Someone who taught us that success isn't measured by profits." My heart pounded. "It's measured by how we treat each other." Then he pointed toward me. And hundreds of people stood. Applauding. Cheering. smiling. I cried openly. Not because I deserved it, but because it reminded me of something the world often forgets. Kindness is never wasted. The encouraging words you almost don't say. The helping hand you almost don't offer. The compassion you almost don't show. They matter. More than you realize. More than you'll ever know. Years later, whenever I think about that dance, I don't remember the music. I don't remember the ballroom. I don't even remember the crowd. I remember one simple sentence. Don't walk away. Because sometimes those words aren't about staying in a place. They're about recognizing your worth before you leave. They're about understanding the impact you've had on others. They're about realizing that the smallest acts of humanity can echo through countless lives. And if this story teaches anything, it's this. You may never fully know how much your kindness means to someone else. But somewhere, someone is stronger because you cared. Someone is hopeful because you listened. Someone kept going because you showed up. And in a world that often feels divided, rushed, and uncertain, that kind of humanity is still the most powerful thing we can give. Sometimes it changes a moment. Sometimes it changes a life. And sometimes, it changes everything.